Have you ever wondered what flour or starch makes the crunchiest chicken wings possible? I certainly have, and that's why I made this video, so we can put this question to rest once and for all. Today we're gonna test out 5 different starches and flours on chicken wings to find out who takes the crown. My friends, without any further ado, there is no time to waste. Now, let's go! We are gonna be using 4 different flours and starches for the purpose of this test, starting with all-purpose flour, potato starch, corn starch, and thick sweet potato starch, but more on that later. It's amazing stuff. And I just don't have it in me to make chicken wings without any flavor, so here's a super bomb marinade you can make. We start with a little bit of neutral oil. I'm using avocado. You can use what you wish, followed shortly after by sesame oil. Next up, Shaoxing wine, but you can leave that out. And I'm using a chicken bouillon paste in this marinade. This is an awesome trick for marinades. It's really gonna add a lot of flavor. And lastly, sugar, Chinese 5-spice, salt, and white pepper. Give that all a really good whisk, and trust me when I say you have a chicken marinade you're never gonna forget. Next, I'm taking some really big chicken wings. I always try to find the biggest ones I can. They always seem to be better and retain more juice. Mix the chicken wings into the marinade, and I'll leave these in the fridge anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, but you could do it longer or shorter if you like. I've just taken out about 25% of each of my flours and starches and put it into a little bowl for dredging. Now, this test is all just about the starches and how crunchy they get, but I am adding a little bit of seasoned salt into my flours because I just don't want to eat a bad chicken wing. The last thing I'm doing is just simply adding cold water to all my flours and starches to make a nice little paste. It should be thick, almost like a pancake batter. And when you make these kind of batters out of starches, you get a whole new experience rather than just coating the chicken in flour and frying it that way. If you look up some videos on YouTube of the most famous fried chicken restaurants in America, they all dip their chicken into these wet batters before frying them. It really does make a huge difference, as you will see here shortly, but I recommend everybody to try doing this with their chicken at least once and see how you like it. We're gonna start with our all-purpose flour mix and see how that goes first, and with all these chicken wings, they'll go first into the dry and then into the wet. This is just gonna ensure all our batter sticks and none of it falls off during frying. Which leads me to our next step, and that's frying these wings in small batches at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 to 7 minutes. That's the first fry. The all-purpose flour wings, to me, they look fine, but they lose their crunch almost immediately, kind of soft. However, we cannot properly judge them until we fry them again at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for another 5 to 6 minutes. And here is what our final product is looking like. They look nice and they feel pretty darn crunchy to me right now. All right, here we go with the flour wing, and I am gonna show you how to make an incredible sauce for these wings at the end of the video. But for now, we're just testing the crunch. So a little salt and pepper on it. That's good. It's got a really nice crunch to it. I wouldn't say it's super duper crunchy, but it's crunchy. The meat is nice and soft in there, still pretty hot. A good wing, no doubt. Next up, we're gonna try the mighty potato starch, following the exact same process. Flour dredge first and then into your wet batter. And if you've been watching cooks on social media for a minute here, you'll know that potato starch is definitely one of the favorites out there, and it is quite good. Same exact process for all these wings, and the potato starch after that first fry definitely held quite a bit more crunch. You could still feel those really crunchy edges even after it sat for about 10 minutes. After the second fry at a higher temperature, these potato starch wings were looking fairly glorious, if you ask me. The coating looks way cooler than all-purpose flour to me, and it has this light, crispy look that I really love with more textures. Well, the potato one feels and sounds insanely crunchy. Let's give this a shot. Potato flour, definitely a very popular choice. Wow. So, like the flour, it is crunchy, but for me, this is like a lighter kind of crunch, a more airy, light crunch. I like it much better than the flour. And something that needs to be said right now, if you make some kind of fried chicken wings with the flour as a coating and then toss it in a hot sauce, which we'll be doing at the end of the video, it will get soggy pretty soon after. However, with these starches like potato, corn, sweet potato starch, they will hold their crunch in a wet sauce. So that is really the beauty of those kind of starches. Next up, I'm coming in hot with the famous corn starch. This is the one starch that most Americans have in their cupboard right now, so pay close attention to this one because the results to me were even surprising. As you'll see here in a minute, we're following the exact same process, and even after the first fry, these had so many textures going on. You can see all these little wispy bits, and they just look really cool and enticing. They've also managed to hold a lot of their crunch even after the first fry, but let's put them to the test by frying them again at that higher temperature, and look at these things. I mean, they look awesome. For this test, I've also been hitting my wings with just a little bit of salt and pepper when they come out of the fryer. All right, here we go with the cornstarch wing. Feels really similar to the potato to me. No way. Honestly, and this is just my observation right now, very similar crunch to the potato, but it's lighter. It feels lighter. I'm actually preferring right now cornstarch to the potato, which I didn't think I would do. I thought potato would dominate cornstarch. That's really good. And it's also good because I know all of you watching at home have cornstarch. The last on our list, but certainly not the least, one of my favorite frying flours ever. This is the thick sweet potato starch, and as you can see, it has all these coarse little chunky pieces in it that make for some amazing fried batter. When you fry it, it puffs up almost like a rice cracker or something. After the first fry at the low temperature, it was crunchy, but not as crunchy as the potato or the cornstarch. But let's see how it does after that second fry at a higher temp. In the texture department, these just have a lot going on. Look at the edge of this thing. I mean, it is just fantastic, glorious. I don't know what to say. Okay, here we go with the thick sweet potato starch. This is the same starch I use for my Taiwanese popcorn chicken video. And I already know what it's like, but let me just take a bite and I'll explain it. What I love about this is it's the most airy. It's almost like a rice cracker, the way it's puffed up, and it has a little bit of chewiness to it as well. It's really, really freaking good. It's not quite as crunchy as something like potato or corn, but it has a whole lot of other stuff going on for it. Observe this right here. I mean, this is just, it has a little chewiness, and then there's this light chicharron-like crunch. Awesome. Now, while we're here and doing these tests, I'm throwing in a bonus. This is brown rice flour. I just had to see how this one worked out, following the exact same process as all the others. First, we're frying at a lower temperature, and these ones got really brown right away, even after that first fry. Surprisingly, they had a lot of color right off the bat, but I had to fry them a second time to make sure they were done, and they got a little bit dark if you ask me. I mean, take a look at those things. Keep in mind, this was brown rice flour, and if you're using white rice flour, you will get a different result. And here we go with our bonus wing here. I just wanted to try something new. This is brown rice flour. Never done it before. Got a little bit dark, right? As you can see. Let's see how the crunch is. Okay, it's good. It has a crunch. It's a very, very light coating, but there's a little bit of a weird flavor there to me, like not burn, but getting to burn, which I don't really like. So that's definitely going low on my list. So in terms of crunch, this is how I would rate it based on my observation today. The crunchiest I found was actually cornstarch, which is a little bit surprising. I thought potato would beat it out, but it didn't. And potato is the second crunchiest one on our list. The third would have to be the flour, although again, if you're putting in a sauce, you're gonna lose that crunch. The fourth is the thick sweet potato starch, and the fifth is the brown rice flour. But crunchy doesn't always win, so from best to worst, this is how I would rate them. I just love that thick sweet potato flour. I'm rating that number 1. Number 2 is gonna be cornstarch for me. Number 3 is gonna be potato. Number 4 is gonna be flour, and number 5 is gonna be that brown rice flour. Now let me show you one of the best wing sauces you'll ever make. Okay, here we go. Starting with a medium heat pan, we're gonna add in a whole bunch of butter, followed by some chopped garlic. Next up, we're going in with fish sauce and soy sauce. We're following that up with some water, some white vinegar, and some white sugar. And then we'll just add some sriracha and some honey and just begin to let this cook down. Once it's getting all bubbly and you can see it's starting to thicken up just like a glaze, we're gonna toss in some of our fried wings. Coat those up nicely, and trust me when I say this is one of the best wing sauces you'll try. It's absolutely delicious, and especially if you like Asian flavors. Okay, my friends, here we go. Dude. What flour you're using, starch, just try it and make these wings. Bringing in Marcus for the taste. It's a little hot. Oh, that crunch, careful.
That sauce is so good.
It's so good. You know I love you in the mouth.